In this video, I want to take a look at a game which I played in 2019. The time control is kind of strange. It is a 10-minute game with a 2-second increment. The opening is also a bit strange. We start off as a normal Sicilian, but here my opponent goes bishop c4. And, well, I haven't really looked at the theory, and for this video I didn't really look at it that deeply, simply because after e6 black has pretty much equalized. Now we're only at depth 14th, but if you let it run to depth 22, 24 and beyond, you will see that black has pretty much equalized. And here my opponent played c3. I don't know if he's trying to just get out of book, or if he's a c3 Sicilian player and he's just trying to trick me with the move order by playing bishop c4 first. So here I played a6, which is not a move that's been played at the master level. There are several thousand games, I believe something like 30,000 games on the database. But again, those are amateur games. So my opponent goes d4, which is obviously an idea of the c3 Sicilian. And here I played b5. Now the best move is to go d5. I didn't want to do that because, well, if he pushes the pawn, then we get kind of like a advanced French that we can potentially transpose to, and I don't really want to do that because, well, I'm not a French defense player. So b5, bishop b3, and here I know that playing c4 is not the best move, but, well, from a practical point of view, I think it is an okay move. I don't think that white has a huge initiative. Now bishop c2 is a move that I was expecting, but I don't think it's that dangerous. I think pushing the pawn would have been a little bit more double-edged. So now I go d5, and, well, my opponent could push the pawn, but he decides that maybe the pawn structure is a little bit too static and he wants to open up at least one file. And here my opponent castled. Queen e2 is also possible. This might put a little bit more pressure, and here you have to be a bit careful at how you block the check. Maybe queen e7, offering a trade of queens is good. If you play something like bishop e7, well, Rybka likes this move h3, and if you play something like queen c7, stopping the bishop from coming to the f4 square, then you might get into trouble if you just play natural moves, like, say, white castles knight f6. Now after knight e5, you can't castle because you just drop a piece. So if instead after knight e5 you play bishop e6, you're still in some trouble after f4 because, again, you cannot castle, because after takes, and you push the pawn, well, you're losing a piece again. So after castles, I play bishop e7 first. because I didn't want either a knight or a bishop landing on g5. So here my opponent goes rook e1. So I block it with the bishop. And here my opponent goes a4. There are several good moves in this position for white. The most unusual one is this move, knight bd2, which is more positional. But you're blocking in the bishop. And after knight f6, knight f1, castles, and knight g3. And well, the position should be equal. a4 I don't really like because of this move, which is what I played. And well, here my opponent played b3. I guess he's trying to confuse me. The engine prefers to take, and here you don't even have to take the pawn. And well, you're actually dropping the pawn no matter what. If you push it, well, you can just take it. You cannot recapture because then you lose the rook. And if you play something like bishop g5, well, the threat is just to push, and well, now black is almost winning because you're gonna get a passed pawn at some point, and well, that should be enough to win. After b3, well, I just decided to pretty much trade all the pawns. So I took here first, and then took the other pawn. The engine prefers knight f6, and well, if you take, again, you don't take right away, you can castle, and if you try to keep the pawn, now you can take with the knight, and black is fine. So after takes, knight f6, rook b1. Better is knight g5, I think. Not objectively, but just from a practical point of view, because if you go queen d7, you can trade, and well, now you have this potential weakness on e6, and well, how do you deal with it? After you castle, if you want to get rid of it, you're gonna have to push the pawn and trade these pawns. But opening up the position when your opponent has the pair of bishops, and this pawn is then gonna be isolated, potentially weak. I mean, if you don't play like that, then you're gonna have to put a rook on the e file to defend the pawn, and it's just not gonna be fun for black. So after castles, bishop c2, and the idea is probably to go queen d3 and try to get rid of this knight. Here I played queen d7. The engines prefer this move, rook c8, and a sample variation would be knight b4, because you're hitting everything. You're hitting the knight, and well, obviously the knight can't move because then you can take with the rook, or actually with the knight is better. And now you have to take the knight on f6, and you have to recapture with the pawn, because otherwise you're losing the knight. And now your pawn structure is terrible. You can go rook b3 or rook e3, and after takes, queen a5. Black, it should be better according to the engines, but I just don't like the fact that you have these weaknesses and the king is exposed. So here I played h6, and well, he takes the knight and goes queen d3, which is what I said earlier, except he did it. He took the knight first and then played queen d3. g6. What else? 95. And well, here I pretty much have to take the knight and go back with the bishop to defend this pawn and defend, well, f6. And here my opponent went knight e2 with the idea, I guess, of blockading the pawn. The engines prefer this, and then f4. Even though they say that black is better, black is not this much better. Yeah, it's an advantage for black, but it's not winning. I don't know. I think I'd rather have white in this position, just because, I mean, this bishop is not doing anything. This bishop is just like a pawn, basically just defending this guy, and I mean, white can go h3, g4, f5, and potentially you're winning this bishop. So, and it's not so clear what black's idea should be. So instead, after knight e2, well, I decided to trade one of the bishops. And well, here I'm winning a pawn, so even if I lose this pawn, I think I should be able to hold this. And I guess here my opponent was frustrated because he's down a pawn and he doesn't have an attack, so he's just gonna latch out with h4. But h5 pretty much stops any attacking ideas. And here I knew that taking the knight is not objectively the best move. I am giving up part of my advantage after I take it, but I don't think I can lose this position. If anything, I'm the only one playing for a win, so I just decided to take the practical choice. So I push, and this move king g7 actually loses all my advantage. After this, the position should be equal. There is this ridiculous engine line. So rook b8, d1, rook e8, and rook f1. I don't know. Don't ask me what that's about. So after king g7, the position again should be equal, but my opponent played king h2, and now black is pretty much, well, winning maybe too much, but it definitely a lot better. Now this line is definitely interesting. So rook b4, and you defend the pawn. White attacks it again, d3, queen check, king h7, rook d4, and now d2. And what does black do? I mean white just takes the pawn, and after queen takes, queen f4, hitting the queen, hitting the pawn with check. This knight is under attack. I mean, this rook is under attack. And apparently everything is equal. And, well, if you take the queen, then you take, and after rook d4, you make a queen, you take, check, king h2, and black is fine. Very nice. And, well, here my opponent just blundered after king h7. And I'm just up a rook. And my opponent resigned. So, if you like the video, please do like, share, and subscribe. It really does help. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.